Hello everyone, welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is Monday, May 12, 2025 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Warid Ahmed and we have a great show for you today. Firstly, we're going to be discussing how Trump might receive a luxury jet from Qatar amid Air Force One delays. Secondly, Syria's president is seeking a meeting with President Donald Trump, and he's going to offer him oil access and a possible Trump Tower in Damascus so he can ease sanctions. Thirdly, Saudi hospitality operator SMC's $500 million IPO was fully subscribed within hours. And we're also going to be discussing the new startup in the UAE in Dubai, HackU Media, and you won't believe who it's by. And finally, gold prices have hit $3,500 and it does not look like it's slowing down anytime soon.
The biggest story of today, and to be honest, the biggest story of the upcoming next 3-4 days from May 13 to May 16, Mr. President visiting Gulf. So President Donald Trump may soon be flying in a luxury jet provided by Qatar's royal family. According to a report by ABC News, the aircraft, a Boeing 747-8, known for its high-end interior, is being considered as a temporary replacement for Air Force One amid ongoing delivery delays from Boeing.
Now, Trump reportedly inspected the jet during a visit to Florida and voiced frustration over Boeing's delays in supplying the next generation presidential aircraft. He was quoted telling aides his administration might go by in plane to avoid further setbacks.
And following the report, Qatari officials denied the claims that the plane was being gifted. Instead, they clarified that the jet's use by President Trump is under consideration, but emphasized that no final agreement has been reached.
Now, if approved, the aircraft would become one of the most valuable assets ever accepted from a foreign government by a sitting U.S. president. Now, Trump's team insists the arrangement is legally sound if processed through his presidential library, though experts say it could raise questions about ethics and diplomatic protocol.
And the jet previously belonged to Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani, a powerful Qatari royal and former prime minister. The potential transfer underscores ongoing tensions between the Trump administration and Boeing over missed aircraft deadlines.
Now, an official announcement could come during President Trump's upcoming visit to Qatar as part of his Middle East tour. Until then, legal and diplomatic circles are watching closely as the move may set new precedents for presidential logistics and foreign influence in U.S. affairs. Now, it's interesting that we're coming to hear this just as the Trump organization just recently announced that they're developing a Trump golf course and villas in Qatar that are worth $5.5 billion, by the way. So Trump is completely taking advantage of his visit to the Gulf, and it's going to be interesting to see what more he receives. I think for me, Majid, what I'm most excited about is, we can now see through the UAE's $1.4 trillion investment in the U.S. over the next 10 years. Saudis already promised $600 billion, could be $1 trillion, that Trump now realizes that the Gulf is extremely important. The Gulf don't make delusioned promises. They don't make promises that don't come true. They bring in money. So we might see that his plans for Gaza are going to truly change.
To be honest, for me, it's very interesting that a Qatari plane will be used in the most secure airplane ever. Air Force One is the most secure flight plane. It's used by the president. And a Qatari gift would be used. My brain directly goes to conspiracy movies, which will be made after 10 years that Qatar was spying on the U.S. president. But the business dealings and the political U.S. presidential level dealings, Trump has told us very clearly. He's shown us in the first 100, I think now it's 110 or 115 days now of his rule. He's shown clearly that he has no borderline between them. He doesn't care. If he gets a personal level, Trump level favor from someone, he will take it. He doesn't mind. And if he takes a favor from someone, being the US president, he doesn't mind. So very interesting. It's the point about being a precedent being set here. Apart from a jet being offered and 1.4 trillion and 600 billion, all these numbers, there is another precedent being set that Mr. Trump thinks that as the US president, as the ruler of the world in a unipolar world where there's one superpower and you're the head of that government, it means that he can do anything. He's setting a precedent for all the upcoming US presidents.
What do you mean he can do anything?
He literally does everything. Whatever he wants, he just does it. He signs an executive order. I was reading over the weekend, there was a nice graphic by The National that he has signed he's signed 3 times more executive orders than any other president in the first 100-ish days. So imagine, we talked about the water pressure also. Like, he wants good water pressure. There is a rule in America that there's a certain water pressure. You can't use more than that because they want to save water. He signed a presidential order to just remove that limit. So he is literally doing what he wants and he thinks is right.
But see, that's the thing though, Majid. His visit to the Gulf and, what's at stake here means that he can't do anything anymore. Because a couple of weeks ago, all we were hearing him say is that, Gaza and Palestine, it's a piece of real estate that he wants to turn it into this U.S. Riviera. And now what we're seeing is that there is so much money at stake here. And in the end of the day, who does he want to make happy? The Gulf. Because, that's his helping hand. That's who's giving him all of this money. So I think that, in fact, it's the complete opposite. I think his visit to the Gulf is going to make him realize that if I want these Arabs on my side, I need to support their causes. I can't back Israel anymore. I can't exactly do whatever I want. But I think in the end of the day, he's just an opportunistic.
And I think, again, being businessman, that's the greatest, I think, skill you can have as a businessman. You know when the opportunity is there and you can take it. But I still think the Gaza problem, very political. He has, according to reports, again, the whole international media is saying that apparently he has some problems going on with Netanyahu. So that is why he took Saudi and Israel normalization off the agenda for this trip. So he's coming here. He's going to talk a lot of business and this. But initially the plan was that he will place it at some point that, Saudi-Israel normalization should be done again. But that's been taken off the agenda. So it shows that there is some crack in the relationship between US and Israel, especially between Trump and Netanyahu. Again, there's so much going on in that part of the world regarding a Trump and Netanyahu. There was there was this guy who was on his phone and someone took a picture and then zoomed in, and he was using an Israeli version of WhatsApp or Telegram. So a lot of people were saying that he's spreading information from inside. Inside the White House, he's spreading information directly. So there's so much going on. I think he has realized that he doesn't need evil, wicked people like Netanyahu and Israel. He just wants straightforward Gulf people who will talk business with you.
He just wants money.
Yeah, he wants money, and they're very straightforward in this. They're like, okay, we'll invest 1.4 trillion. Over 10 years, give us access to your best AI chips. Saudi Arabia will invest 600, whatever the deal final number comes out. We just want to get trade.
He finally got the fair trade that he wants. Because if you actually think about it, I mean, the U.S. just very recently providing $8 billion in arms to Netanyahu, Biden providing $6 billion in arms to Netanyahu. I think that he's finally realizing that there is not much here that we are actually receiving back. Speaking of receiving, Syria wants to be a part of Trump's whirlpool, and President Ahmed al-Shara is pushing for a face-to-face meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump during his current Middle East tour, which is going to begin tomorrow, by the way. Now, according to a Reuters report, Syria is offering bold incentives, including a Trump Tower in Damascus. Now, normalization with Israel and U.S. access to Syrian oil and gas reserves.
And the proposal is being spearheaded by Jonathan Bass, a pro-Trump activist from the United States, who reportedly held a 4-hour meeting with President Shara in Damascus on April 30. Gulf Arab states and Syrian intermediaries are also involved in brokering a potential meeting during Trump's regional visits to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE.
Now, Syria has been under heavy U.S. sanctions for years, and this direct outreach is seen as an attempt to regain economic footing and return to the global diplomatic stage. Now, the initiative includes offers of cooperation and counterterrorism and limiting Iranian influence in the region.
And however, any engagement would be highly controversial. President Shah remains a US designated terrorist on paper due to past affiliations with Al Qaeda. Despite this, some advocates argue Trump's history of unconventional diplomacy, we were just talking about it, such as meeting North Korea's Kim Jong un, could pave the way for a dialogue.
Now, according to sources, Syria's president expressed a desire to make peace with Syria's neighbors and said he sees similarities between his own political survival and Trump's. Now, talks between Sharia and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reportedly took place over the weekend.
While a direct meeting remains uncertain, a high-level dialogue between Syria and the US is reportedly expected this week. The White House has yet to comment. Analysts say the push to engage Trump directly reflects frustration with bureaucratic hurdles inside the US administration. It's very interesting. He wants to build, he's offering literally everything to get US on his side, and he knows that as soon as US lifts the sanctions, the whole world will lift the sanctions. Right now, we talked about it, Saudi and Qatar are paying out the 15 million outstanding debt. There's a bigger debt, but that's the amount they have to pay to restart all the aid and debt procedures. But I think still right now, Syria is trying to get on its feet, but it's still finding shoulders to stand on. And I think it's not bad. It's not a bad strategy. It's a good strategy to help, to take help from people. But again, he needs to be very clear who he is taking help from, because those people will come back asking for a favor for their favor. So he has to show very clearly where he inclines towards.
I see what
Europe
you mean.
took the first step. They took a lot of sanctions away. Apart from the arms section, Europe has taken all the sanctions away from Syria. So medicine, food, all those supplies have started and will start and like obviously become bigger. But US still has all the sanctions in place.
But Majid, you know what it also is here with this? I think, there's a very interesting part of this story, and that's where it said that before he even proposed this in a meeting, I believe, with this pro-Trump guy. I forgot his name, but before he even revealed that he's thinking of offering a Trump Tower in Damascus, which if it did occur, it would be such a cultural milestone, I think. I think the fact is here is that he had a call with Salman. And I think that a lot of people are not aware of how many cards Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman holds on his hands, because from what I've previously seen in 2017, Trump's first foreign visit as president was to Saudi Arabia. And now we are seeing the same again.
Even with three countries, his first stop is Saudi, right?
His first stop is Saudi Arabia. So I think what we're seeing here is, and by the way, Saudi Arabia completely condemns what is going on in Israel. Crown Prince Salman condemns what is happening in Israel. So I think the fact that the Syrian president has Salman on his side does speak a lot. It's more of like Trump. If you want me to give you money, you have to help my brothers. You have to help my brothers. So I think that's definitely the kind of dynamic that we're seeing here.
Very interesting geopolitics and economic politics going on right now. We'll keep you updated on it, but let's move a little to another note and talk about more Saudi Arabia. In a strong show of investor confidence, Saudi Arabia's specialized medical company, which everyone is calling SMC for now, saw its $500 million initial public offering IPO fully subscribed within hours of launching. The IPO marks a major milestone for the kingdom's fast-growing healthcare sector.
Now, SMC is offering 75 million shares, equivalent to a 30% stake, priced between 24 to 25 riyals per share, or roughly $6.40 to $6.67. Now, that values the company at nearly $1.7 billion. Now, the book-building phase for institutional investors will continue until May 15th.
And the rapid subscription highlights strong appetite for healthcare assets in Saudi Arabia, a sector prioritized under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030. The IPO's success also adds momentum to the region's capital markets and global economic uncertainty.
Now, SMC follows in the footsteps of other recent healthcare IPOs in the kingdom, including Fakih Hospital and Al Musa Health, which raised $763 million and $450 million, respectively. Now, these offerings signal a broader trend of investor interest in the region's private health sector.
And proceeds from the IPO will support SMC's expansion plans, with 3 new hospitals set to open in Riyadh's northern districts. In 2024, the company recorded 1.4 billion riyals in revenue and a net profit of 185 million riyals.
Now, the broader IPO pipeline in the Gulf remains active. Upcoming listings include Flynas and Ijada Systems in Saudi Arabia and Arait, backed by Dubai's royal family. Now, SMC's debut is expected to bolster investor confidence in the long-term growth of healthcare in the region. You know what's so interesting? I think more so than the fact that they IPO'd and they did so successfully, Majid, it's the fact that apparently it was founded in 1999 by Saudi Arabian families.
Yeah.
There's no actual one person here who is the star of the show. It's Saudi Arabian families who came together, and apparently the entire hospital, they basically just offered day-to-day surgery at first when they were first founded. And I think for me that's almost hinting at the fact that it was really created for the purpose of the greater good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with businesses, Majid, the second that somebody is not just flaunting their name all the time, that I did that, I founded that, I think that could, perhaps mean that they truly just did it for the people.
Yeah.
Like they don't care about their involvement to it. What do you think?
Very recent example. We didn't do the story because it's a little out of our Middle Eastern and Gulf angles, but Bill Gates, he said that in the next 10 years, 20 years...
He's distributing 90%
next 2
of
years,
his wealth,
yeah,
I believe.
99%. Yeah,
99% of his
giving
wealth.
away. It's nearly $200 million or something. He's just giving away to causes which Melinda Gates Foundation is currently doing. So it shows you Bill Gates is a very renowned name. He came to limelight because of Microsoft. He didn't come to limelight for anything else. But then he started this foundation. A lot of people, I still, sometimes when I talk to people, a lot of people still say, oh, the Microsoft CEO. I'm like, no, he left that position a long time ago. The main idea is that if you do charity, a lot of people will say like, oh, I'm giving 5%, 2%, 1%. This guy gave away everything. And coming back to Saudi Arabia and coming back to the Gulf culture, the idea is like that. I remember there's this one person, again, very long ago I read his story, so I don't remember anything, but we have also examples from this region who have literally given away all their wealth from the Gulf, UAE, Saudi Arabia. They're like, okay,
I wonder if he has children.
Yeah, no,
Truly not sure.
Bill Gates has daughter. She's very always in.
He has 3 children.
Yeah.
I'd be really mad if my dad gave away all.
No, they
all our
have their
wealth.
own setup. So they're working, they're doing their own thing. So I think for the children, having just the Microsoft founder Bill Gates' name opens like 1 million doors for them. Even if they start a startup, their father's friend will line up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, your Bill's daughter, 1 million I'll give you, just start whatever you want to do. So they have that kind of luxury, and I think they are in the know. If the whole world knows, they would know. But I think he instilled in them, because there was this one point in time when I used to follow her daughter on Instagram, and I used to see a lot of stuff that he did. She was always with him. So she was trying to follow him everywhere, trying to learn why is he trying to end malaria in the world, or doing this in Africa, or trying to give clean water access to a lot of people. So I think it comes with, if your father has those the thinking patterns, eventually the kids learn that money is not that important.
Yeah.
It is, obviously, for survival, for food, for housing, but not that important that I want tens of billions of dollars.
I think with Bill Gates, Majid, the reason why I find his story so inspiring, and I think so many of you should, is because of the fact that I remember I read somewhere that he went to one of the few schools, I mentioned this before, he went to one of the few schools in the US, I believe it was Lakeside in Seattle, that had a computer. Actually, it was one of, not the few schools in the US, but one of the few schools in the world that had a computer. And that's where he would sit every single day after school to go on the computer and learn how to code. And I remember that computer, it was basically bought through the mothers coalition in the school. Basically, they came together, they would get funding, and they would basically get materials that the kids would need. And it was one of the few schools in the world that had a computer. So to me, his story, it's of so much luck, but it's of so much resilience and perseverance to see what he's built today.
It's very important to understand your privilege. I have realized that with Bill Gates, he realized his privilege that I have this access which millions of kids in the world don't. And he built something which eventually, I think you've used Windows something.
Microsoft.
Microsoft Word, MS Word, Excel. We have used at least one product in our lifetime which was built on the basis of what he built. So likewise, we have local examples. We will find them. There's a lot of people actually we can still name right now. Majid Al Futtaim, I remember his story. 55, nearly 55, he started Majid Al Futtaim, and now see, there's like thousands of people who are employed just because one person decided to do something. So we have a lot of great examples, and yes, Saudi SMC, very good example of such a business which was started by people for the people.
And another great example that we have coming is this new media venture at the intersection of health, innovation, and performance. HackU Media has launched with a $1.5 million investment co-founded by health tech entrepreneur Vadim Fedotov and fitness personality Mike Thurston.
The Dubai-based company aims to become the global authority on content focused on physical, cognitive, and leadership performance. It plans to include a state-of-the-art podcast and video production studio set to open this month, along with talent acquisition and global partnerships.
Now, HackU Media will take over the production and global distribution of First Things First, Mike Thurston's acclaimed podcast, ranked among the UK's top 10 entrepreneurship shows. Now, past guests include Dave Asprey, Dorian Yates, and Chris Williamson.
And the company's flagship show will be co-hosted by Thurston and Fedotov. Fedotov was, by the way, here. Our owner, Rich, interviewed him the Dubai Works
We also
podcast.
Interviewed him at Step.
Yeah, and we went to Step. We met him. Very nice guy. Very tall guy, very athletic guy, but very nice guy. So they will be diving into topics like medical innovation, biohacking, performance science, and entrepreneurial resilience, aimed at high performers seeking a competitive edge in business and life.
Now, real data, real protocols, and real routines. This isn't fluff, said Thurston. Fedotov added, we're building a science-first media platform for athletes, founders, and executives who want credible, actionable strategies to optimize their potential.
And with the global biohacking market projected to reach $25 billion by 2030, investor interest is rising. High-profile names, including Cristiano Ronaldo, are backing health ventures like Bionic, which Fedotov he's the main guy behind Bionic. HackU Media is also tapping into that momentum with Dubai as its launchpad.
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
So they basically sat down and they're like, okay, we need a startup that is basically going to prioritize the rise of podcasts that have to do with health.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's great because podcasts are rising.
Yeah.
More people are listening to podcasts. So I think they definitely tapped into something there. And I think with Vadim, him already being involved with Bionic, having Cristiano Ronaldo, the world-renowned player, as an investor, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of guests that they bring in. It really will be.
And the funny thing is, the press release that came and we saw there was this one number that caught my eye, that nearly 80% of the podcast, apparently according to the press release, 80% of these fitness podcasts, they have zero science backing. They just randomly throw stuff at you. So that is why they were like, we want to create a channel or a media venture or a podcast and everything, which will have 100% certified scientific backing and scientific facts. Whatever we say will be backed by some research or something. So very nice idea. They saw a window where people are giving away health. I remember there was this Bloomberg opinion I read on fake AI videos where people just putting asking ChatGPT for weird things and then putting it on a doctor's face and then putting it on TikTok and everywhere, and people believing those videos. Like, oh, if you have this problem, this is the remedy. If you have this problem, drink this with this with this. So comes at a very nice time, and and they found their perfect window. Whatever they say will be backed by something.
I think
So
even
you
the
can trust them.
environment that they chose,
Yeah.
Majid, Dubai, I noticed that Dubai, the UAE, is so supportive of content creators. I mean, there's a creators HQ here. You have the possibility of getting a golden visa if you're an influencer, if you're a creator. And I think with Haku Media, I think that they can monetize that business really well, because you have things like Whoop by Egyptian-American entrepreneur Will Ahmed. And just very recently, they launched their new prototype, 5.0, I believe, or was it 4? 5.0. And their entire what's it called? The entirety of Whoop is all about health. And I noticed that on their LinkedIn, they're constantly posting sleep patterns. They use their customers to actually make health observations. So imagine Will Ahmed coming on Mike Thurston's podcast, coming to Haku Media to make his own podcast for Whoop, or to possibly, further market Whoop. So I think that they have great credibility here, and that they can definitely monetize it really well. I saw something somewhere, Majid, where this creator who has like less than 20K followers on TikTok is like charging certain clients like $3,000.
Nice.
You cannot believe. It's crazy. You cannot believe how big the creator economy is here in the UAE, and people are willing to pay that price. So I think that they swooped in at the perfect moment, but their location-wise, what they chose is extremely strategic. It is.
And talking about weird collabs, not weird collabs, but just interesting collabs, because this, as word proposed, it will be one of the best podcasts. I would personally listen to every word of it. If Vadim, Mike Thurston, and Will Ahmed, they sit together and talk. Zeteo and Mehdi Hassan, very famous from his Oxford Times and Dialogues, he is sitting down with Miss Rachel. And they're going to talk about how Miss Rachel faced a lot of backlash for supporting the Gaza-Palestine cause. So I just saw the promo of it on Zeteo, and I just shared it on a group. But it's very interesting. One of the most unexpected collabs or a podcast that I'll see. So very valid point from Worth, that podcasts are growing so much that every person is trying to talk to every person. But here the link is very nice. Miss Rachel got a lot of flack, and she's a kids video maker. She just makes videos for kids.
She just cares about kids.
Yeah, and it comes from her personal experience, where she had a kid who had speech problems. So she started making videos for him, and eventually she realized, I can do it on a mass scale. I can make it for a lot of kids who face speech problems. And people are giving her flack for supporting the Palestine cause. Very interesting. Just to give you a note that keep in mind, it will come. I think it's on tomorrow. It's going to air tomorrow on Zeteo's YouTube. You can watch that. And last story of the day. Gold's remarkable rally is showing no signs of slowing down, with analysts pointing to a mix of geopolitical tensions, a weakening dollar, and rising inflation expectations as key drivers.
Now, according to the World Gold Council, gold surged 6.6% in April alone, briefly breaching an all-time high of $3,500 before settling above $3,300. Now, year to date, the precious metal has gained nearly 27%, outperforming most major asset classes.
And the surge comes as investors seek refuge amid heightened market volatility and uncertainty surrounding U.S. trade policy and the Trump tariffs, obviously. Inflows into gold-backed ETFs reflect the trend, with 21 billion added in Q1 alone of this year, marking the strongest quarter in 3 years.
Now, Chinese funds have led the surge in Asia, increasing their gold ETF holdings by a staggering 77% this year. The data points to a broader shift in investor behavior, especially in Asian markets, where interest in gold continues to grow.
And central banks are also playing a major role. Countries like China, India, Turkey, and Russia are actively diversifying away from the US dollar. Over the past 3 years, central bank gold buying has exceeded 1,000 tons annually, and the trend is expected to continue.
Now, while investment demand dominates headlines, consumer markets tell a nuanced story. India, the world's top jewelry consumer, saw a 15% dip in gold demand in Q1, even as the total value rose by 22% due to soaring prices. Now, if you want to know who's to blame for this, you can definitely blame Donald Trump because of the tariffs that he raised on China. So what are they trying to do here? They're replacing gold. They're replacing the US dollar with gold. They're relying more on gold, and that is their new method of diversifying, and that's why it's at an all-time high. I know that's completely unfortunate for me and everyone here.
We should have bought it.
It does not seem to be slowing down whatsoever. And by the way, last summer, Majid, I went with my grandmother to the gold souk here. She wanted to sell her gold. The prices were so low. They were so low. That was a perfect chance. It was last summer.
See, gold is the last asset class anyone goes to when the conditions are really bad, because if you buy it in solid form, in coin form, in any form, it's very physically present there, and eventually someday it will come back to its original price.
You have to put active effort to actually go and sell
gold.
So
yeah, that's the problem with gold, that a lot of people still think of it as a long game. They don't believe like they will get 27% return in just 3 months. So that is why people who didn't invest lost out. But it's fine. You'll have 1 million FOMOs if you try to do any assets, if you try to go into stock, crypto. Recently, I went through a crypto FOMO. Crypto at the moment is 104, 103. Bitcoin is basically $104,000. It's crossed the 100,000 mark barrier again, and it's sustaining there. And I bought it at 96, and when there was a dip, I didn't buy enough. I'm still feeling the FOMO. A lot of people are, because they were like, okay, coin market, the whole cryptocurrency is sinking. It's back. So yeah, a lot of people face a lot of FOMOs in a lot of assets, but
that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 1.6 million monthly listeners across all platforms. You make this possible. If you're one of them, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.